Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100% untrue and infuriates you when you hear it? That because you don't like another woman it's only because you're jealous. Listen. I can hate a woman because of something she did or said and in no ducking way be jealous of her. She may be just dumb and why would I be jealous of that? The women never get along with each other mindset is honestly the most infuriating stereotype I hear about women. Like really? We just all hate each other and never get along? Oh, okay. Sure. We pee with our vagina. I had this discussion with a woman once. She swore that it was not only true that women pee from their vagina but that a woman couldn't pee until her hymen had been broken. She had a daughter. Somewhat related. I went to preschool in a church. My teacher told us the story of Adam and Eve. At the end she said us. This is the reason God made women afraid of snakes. Several girls spoke up and said they weren't afraid of snakes. I don't remember what my teacher's exact response was but I remember she was really annoyed. That has got to be the weirdest application to the Adam and Eve story I have ever heard. Next. Maternity leave is basically vacation. If you've ever experienced the exhaustion of carrying a child and the intense body changes that occur during and after delivery, you'll find out that maternity leave is necessary for recovery and is not a vacation. Try working with a second, third, or fourth degree tear while now trying to deal with a baby that needs to feed every 2-3 hours. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Kind person. I bought Witcher 3 to play after having my baby. Yo, I haven't had time to play it since he's been born. He's 3. That women don't snore, seriously. I've heard this loads and it always baffles me. People breathe when they sleep. Sometimes it makes some noise. Male or female. Let them breathe. Really? My wife snores like a water buffalo drowning in porridge. Edit. Row. Gold. Silver and a train. Nearly everything about endometriosis. It is sorely misunderstood. Research is underfunded. And terrible treatments get used all the ducking time when they don't help and make things worse. It's a hidden debilitating disease and I hate the misinformation spread about it. There is help out there and legit treatments. Eater. Thank you kind strangers for the awards. For those suffering and needing additional resources, the Facebook group Nance's Nook Endometriosis Education is an amazing resource. Yup. My wife suffered with severe endo for most of her life. I can't count the number of nights she was a mess on the bathroom floor. Just an absolute misery. Doctors never really took her seriously and brushed it off as overly dramatic, which is total bullshit because my wife can handle some pain. 12 years of rock climbing, alpinism, and mountain biking together has convinced me of that. An endoscopic treatment alleviated the symptoms briefly, but returned to normal after 18 months. She was able to marginalize the effects somewhat with a heavy regimen of NSAIDs, but those are not great drugs to depend on heavily. She had a hysterectomy a year ago. She can't believe she waited 49 years to do it. It's no longer an issue for her. Not a girl. But I always found it sad to see articles where rape cases are shut down because she has an intact hymen. The hymen doesn't break the first time you have sex. But it can if you are too rough with it. Hell. Horseback riding and tampons can break it. And it won't always bleed the first time. It may break. Or it might not. Both are perfectly normal. Did you hear about the ex-Kentucky governor who just pardoned a convicted rapist of a 9-year-old girl because her hymen was still intact? So he didn't believe the guy really raped her? I want to put my head through a wall over crap like this. Stuff about our periods in general. Like if we're mad, it's definitely because we're on our period. We never have a legitimate reason to be upset. Also myths like we're able to hold an hour period or we only have it for a day or that we're impure. The impure one definitely infuriates me. I just think about the billions of women throughout history, and sometimes even today, being treated as if they're impure or an evil omen because of a bodily function they cannot control. Banishing them to menstrual huts when they have their periods or not allowing them to touch anything. And yes, this happens. My mother as a teenager was not allowed to touch anything when she had her period. It got to the point where she would just not tell anyone she was menstruating and do what she wanted. There are so many awful myths about women's periods. plenty of examples at r/bad women's anatomy. That periods only last one day. I'm infuriated that this isn't true. Edit. Okay. So before I get bombarded with any more messages as to how it's possible to even come to the conclusion that periods last only one day, the kid explained his reasoning as he thought that periods happening once a month meant one day per month. That is all there is to it. Oof. Imagine if all the pain of a 7-day period was condensed to one day. I'm not sure which one is the better option. That we all love shopping. I ducking hate shopping. I hate shopping for clothes. But give me $100 and I could easily spend it in an art supplies store. We love children and have natural knack for them. When women abuse children they are seen as damaged. Men who abuse children are sick. My mom was a good example of women who should not have kids. Lol. All women are the same and must therefore have the same interests, skills and opinions. This. I have a co-worker who anytime he learns something about me he pulls the old I don't get women and I'm like well it's not women it's just me. We are all individuals. Every time I throw up or say I feel nauseated. Literally since I was like 16. The first thing someone jumps to is are you pregnant? Like we can get sick without it being because we're knocked up. Edit. Change nauseous to the proper nauseated. Edit again. Personally, if a DR or nurse asks me, I simply answer and move on. That's part of their job. But if I mention to my mom or a co-worker or a random stranger hears me telling my husband that I feel sick, it doesn't mean I'm pregnant. As someone who gets horrible nausea as a PMS symptom the week before my period starts, this is the bane of my existence. That we all hate when our significant other is going to hang out with friends and we expect them to be with us 24/7? This one goes hand in hand with the stereotype that no man actually likes his significant other and wants to hang out with her, but is just putting in his time until he finally gets away from her to hang out with the boys. That the more sex you have, the looser your kitten gets. It's a multitude of muscles. I always want to ask, does your arm get ropey and loose because you've been flexing it all your life? No? Then why would you think a vagina would? All women need children. Also, women who don't have children are not maternal or not good with children. No. I just enjoy disposable income and am too selfish to take care of another living creature. That we don't need pockets in our ducking clothes. I'm a guy and I've seen the pockets in girls' jeans and shit. I feel really bad for y'all, since they are like 2 inches deep. That as little girls we all dreamt about our future wedding. Not all women want to get married or actually enjoying attending weddings. I only dreamt about being a dolphin tamer. Edit. This is not a Joyo reference. I just wanted to be dolphin tamer as a kid for real. Every woman is the same. That we all like the same things. That every period is the same. Every childbirth is the same. That if one woman says periods hurt and one says it don't, one of us has to be lying. That if one woman's childbirth is easy, the rest must be faking it all week. It was frustrating for me watching my wife deal with intense morning sickness while pregnant and people who didn't get it would just dismiss her. My wife is an incredibly hard worker, but she had to quit her job because she couldn't handle being so sick. And even people in her family just didn't understand it. Even some nurses who work with a lot of pregnant women didn't understand how hard of a time she's having. So frustrating seeing people be condescending to my superwoman. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I didn't expect this to blow up so much. That we can just hold our periods. Do you honestly think we would still need feminine products if we could do that? Edit. For those who keep doubting the validity of this claim, I present to you links to other commenters. Reddit.com/Askreddit comments CE9 New Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100/fbstsla. Reddit.com/Askreddit comments CE9 New Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100/FBT80D. Reddit.com/Askreddit comments CE9 New Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100/FBT9UIY. Reddit.com/Askreddit comments CE9 New Women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100/FBT9IHJ. reddit.com /Askreddit comment CE9 new women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100 /FBT7PZN reddit.com /Askreddit comment CE9 new women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100 /FBT68SK reddit.com /Askreddit comment CE9 new women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100 /FBST813 reddit.com /Askreddit comment CE9 new women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100 /FBSV1R6 reddit.com /Askreddit comment CE9 new women of Reddit. What myth about women is 100 /FBT2XMU/. That's because too many people think women pee out of the vaginas. That we're only supposed to like rom-com movies. Someone once told me I've quite a masculine movie collection. WTF. Sometimes they allow female protagonists Sailor Disney as well. Wonder what they make of Alien. Should fit nicely in your rom-com collection. On Reddit I frequently come across the notion that women, unlike men, automatically have this social network they can rely on for support. Boy, I wish that were the case. OMG, this is so sadly true. I had a baby in June and every damned piece of advice I got included some bullshit about enlisting a friend to help with the baby. That friend doesn't exist. But thanks for the helpful tip. That we mean the opposite of what we say. This is so infuriating. It actually has had the effect in failed relationships of making me be less direct. Because if I said what I meant directly he would assume I was lying or hiding something. I just think people misunderstand why women's bathroom lines are so long. It's not because we're all vain. It's because we have to sit every time unlike you and wipe, and it takes a lot longer and some women have to get undressed to do so. Also, not even to mention how time consuming periods can be. As a woman, having to take a poop while on your period is an entire event that requires so much time and cleanup. There should be a stall dedicated to it. That I like pumpkin spice lattes. It doesn't infuriate me, but I was always confused by the stereotype that women are afraid of blood in general. Like, what do you think we deal with everything month? Edit. Whoa, a lot of really interesting responses. Yo, I definitely get being wary or affected by unnatural amounts of blood or even by just blood in general as a woman. It's not abnormal or wrong. It definitely happens. Definitely a thing. I feel like the stereotype of women fainting at the sight of blood has died down a lot since its origin though. Anybody who says it was because of corsets hasn't done their research enough to know that the average Joe didn't tight lace on a regular basis or even at all, and that corsets were worn to provide a structure and silhouette often more than to cinch the waist, basically a wider bra. So obviously some idiots in the past tight laced, then fainted, and then started a viral stereotype. But corsets made and fitting correctly actually are fine for breathing. I'm a reenactor if you couldn't tell, head. So that's where I think the stereotype comes from. Maybe just as women were seen as more restricted, the reality is the same and different all at once, and that's a whole different subject. Yet it's also a stereotype that nurse equals woman. Those two stereotypes aren't compatible. The uterus is harmed when women drive. This was the excuse used by Saudi Arabia for years before women were finally allowed to drive in 2017. Lol. What? Were women allowed to travel in cars? I mean, medically. What was the difference in operating a car and travel in it? Does Saudi Arabia just throw darts at a board with stupid bullshit reasons on it in order to justify discrimination? That the clitoris is hard to find. Or that labia grow exponentially with lots of sex. Or that vaginas are anything but elastic. Basically every ridiculous myth about female sexuality and their genitals. If they can't find it, they're not really looking. This was mentioned several times in high school. Women give sex to get love and men give love to get sex, which I think is as insulting to men as it is to women. That females are not good at video games. Or that they have a male friend who is boosting them to their current rank, if it's higher than theirs. And then when they find out you're actually better than them, they try to deny it. It's so annoying to go in a lobby with random people and it's filled with guys who belittle you or talk down to you because you're a female. That all of us secretly hate each other and are innately gossipy and beachy. Some dipshit on here tried telling me once that he knew all women resented each other because he knew the nature of women. That old saying, men insult their friends but don't mean it and women compliment their friends but don't mean it, paints women as catty, unable to have genuine friendships. Which is BS. Any woman who's ever met another drunk woman in a bathroom knows how kind women can be to each other. Same goes for anyone who's unexpectedly gotten their period. Tampons are expensive. And I've still given them away to girls I didn't like because they needed one. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.